still using add, we have to copy the subtract and put it right here, save my file and run that. So here you can see it's going to give us -4, which is not correct. Oh, we are doing the other way around. Anyways, so it doesn't even matter, but this is how we are going to be creating an interface, and this is how we are going to be using that inside a function. So now let's learn about interfaces with methods. So we can also specify the methods inside an interface. So we can just create a person interface right here. I'm going to provide a first name, and the first name will be set to string. The last name will be also set to string, and I'm going to also specify the age will be set to number and say hello. This person will be also able to say hello right here, and we're not going to be returning anything, so that's why we have to set there to void. So now let me just create a function. I'm going to give a name of like greet, and also for the perimeter it's going to take a person, and for a type it's going to take that that interface which we already created right here. So this one should be lowercase, and there we go. And now inside this function body, we're not going to be doing anything crazy, but we are going to be just logging to the console like hello, and person dot first name, and also the person dot last name as well. Now let me just go back, and I'm going to just use like person dot say hello right here and execute that. So now if I save that, what I want to do is that I wanted to create that first name, last name. I want to create a separate object right here. It is already giving us right here. So I'm going to just provide all of these properties like first name of John, the last name of Doe, the age will be 30, and say hello. Let's just remove that right here, save my file and say hello, and inside there we are just providing like I don't know, hi there, or I'm gonna just write like hi there right here instead of hello. So this is how we are going to be creating or this is how we are going to be providing an interface for the object as well. We can also provide their method body right here, and here you can see we have this John, and that's that. Now let me just duplicate that right here. I'm gonna just duplicate that. I'm gonna just create one more person, so I'm gonna just change the name of that to like Hussein, and I'm gonna also change this name, not this one, come on, I'm gonna change this name to Hussein, and also let's just change this name to web dev, and the age will be 20, and I'm gonna just say like what's good, or what's good would be fine. Okay, so now let me just use that greet method right here, which we already created right here. I'm gonna just create that greet method, and I'm gonna specify the John and also Hussein right here. So now let me just save that, and now let's just run that right here. We are getting all of their results, but that's not looking that much cool, so I'm gonna just run it once again, and we are getting like hello John Doe, hi there, hello Hussein web dev, what's good. Okay, so this is how we are going to be defining our interface. This is how we are going to be using that interface inside this function. This is how we are going to be creating an object based on that same interface right here. We have two objects, and this is how we are going to be providing a value for this same interface right here. Now let me just give you one more example, because I want to give you a lot of example for these interfaces, because I know a lot of instructors say like, oh my god, interfaces are supremely awful and I cannot give a lot of examples. Oh god damn it, my throat kind of hurts. I gotta stop doing that. Now let me just write my interface once again, and I'm gonna just create an interface of song, and I'm gonna just write a song name. You can also provide a title, whatever, and I'm gonna also provide a singer name, and singer name will be string, and also for the print song info, come on, print song info, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be providing the song name, and the song name will be set to string, and I'm going to also specify the singer name, and the singer name will be also set to string, and we're going to be also providing it for the return as well. Now let me just go back, and I'm going to just create a song 1 right here, and it's going to be equals to the song interface. And now inside this object we are going to be using like song name, and it's going to be equals to like natural. Okay, and the singer name will be equals to imagine, and also print song info, and we are going to be providing the song name first of all, and we are going to be also providing the singer name. And inside there, what do you want to do? We are going to be just returning like I don't know, song, and first of all we have to render the singer name, so not a singer but a song name right here, and then we also have to render the singer also as well. So I'm going to just use like singer name, singer, if you already have that. Let me just copy the singer name and put it right here. But why on earth we are getting this error? Oh, I forgot to include these annotations right here. There we go. Now that's looking better. I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to just use that right here. So I'm going to use like song1 dot print song info, and I'm gonna just provide natural. We already provide that, but yeah, I'm gonna just do it right here once again, and I'm going to provide like imagine dragon right here. So now let me just save that and execute that once again. So here you can see we are now getting the song name, which will be set to natural, and we also have a singer, imagine dragon right here. Everything is okay, and that was just it about for interfaces using with function and also with methods as well. Now let's learn about how we are going to be extending the interfaces or borrowing the functionality from the parent interface to the children interface. So how can I go about doing that? I'm going to create an interface right here, and I'm going to give a name of like movie details. The first property, I'm going to set that to read only, and I'm going to just set that to name and string. I'm going to also provide ratings to it, so the ratings will be set to number. And also for the print movie info right here, what do you want to do? We just want to provide a name. It's going to take a string. We also have to provide a price as well, and the price will be set to number. And we also want to provide a ratings, and the ratings will be also set to number as well. Now let's just provide for the return. So we are going to be either using a string or number right here. Now outside from there, what do you want to do? We just want to extend both of the interfaces. So I'm going to just write interface. I'm going to give a name of like movie genre, and I'm going to extend extends extends this movie detail right here. So what I'm doing is that I'm creating a new interface, and I am borrowing all of the functionality which we currently have inside this interface to this movie genre right here. Okay, so this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to just write like genre and set that to string. Okay, and what I want to do is that I'm going to just create a movie right here, like constant movie one, and it's going to be equals to some sort of a movie like movie genre. So now we are using this movie genre, so which means like we are also extending the functionality from this movie detail. So we have to first of all satisfy this one, then we have to satisfy this movie genre or this specific genre right here. So now let me just write a code, then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just use like name, and I'm going to just fill it with this one right here. So the first one requires a name. I already provide that name. Then it requires the ratings. I already provide the ratings. Then we are using this movie genre right here. You can put that at the end, you can put it anywhere you want, but I just put it right here. So we have a genre as well, and then we have this print movie info. So we satisfy both of these interfaces right here. In this case, what we are doing is that we are borrowing all of the functionality of this interface, and we are putting it right here in this interface right here. Okay, then we are providing that movie genre interface right here. So which means like we have to now satisfy both of these interfaces, like this interface and also this interface as well. So there we go, we already provided values for them. So now let me just create a response, so like const response, and we're going to be providing a movie one dot print movie info right here, and I'm gonna just specify like John Wick, and I'm gonna also provide a I don't know, the price of 100 and the ratings of ad, and there we go. Now I can log that to the console successfully. Now let me just run that, and here you can see we have a movie name of John Wick, the price is 100, and also we have the ratings of ad right here. Amazing. So yeah, this is how we are going to be extending interface from another interface. Now finally, let's learn about interfaces with classes, baby. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just create an interface, give a name of like vehicle, and inside this interface we would have like two methods, like I don't know, start, and it's going to be also a void because we are not going to be getting some sort of a return statement, so it's going to be void. And we also have a stop one as well. I'm going to execute this one as well, and it's going to be void as well. Now let me just create a class. I'm going to give a name of like car, and we are going to be using the implements right here, implements, if I can spell that today, and vehicle. Okay, so we are going to be providing this vehicle right here. So now we are using this vehicle interface inside this car, or we are implementing that, so we have to just use this implement result keyword right here. Okay, so I'm going to just satisfy this interface which we already using. So I'm going to use like start method, and I'm going to just write like car is starting, and now I'm going to just duplicate that, provide a comma, change that to stop. And by the way, we don't have to specify the comma. I don't even know why I did that. And car is stopping or stopped, stopped. Let's just remove that. I'm gonna go back, and this is how we are going to be using that This is how we are going to be defining our interface, and this is how we are going to be using that, and this is how we are going to be satisfying all of the properties or methods in this case of this vehicle interface right here. Okay, so now how in the world we are going to be using this? So I'm going to just use like const my car, and it's going to be equals to new car because this is a class, and we can now use like my car dot start. We can start the car. Now let me just start the car and save them, and car is starting right here. If I want to stop them, I'm gonna just duplicate that and change that to stop, save my file and run that. So we have car is starting, and we also have car is stop right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be using the interfaces with classes, baby. So now there is only one topic left, which is called a declaration merging. So now let's talk about a declaration merging. So once an interface is declared, it cannot be directly modified. However, TypeScript allows what is informally referred to as declaration merging or interface extensions, which is often misconstrued as reopening. Some people like call it reopening. So all of these three names work if you want to call it whatever you want to call it. So what is a declaration merging? Declaration merging in TypeScript refers to the ability to extend or augment an existing declaration, including interfaces as well. And this can be useful when you want to add a new properties or methods to existing interface without modifying the original declaration. Okay, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? The syntax is totally simple. Like once we define some sort of an interface, we provide a property, we provide our method, and we want to later provide something else, so we can totally do that. Or if you want to change the existing ones, so we are going to be using this exact same syntax, like this exact name, this exact syntax, and in this case we are going to be providing this new properties right here, like model will be set to string, and also we have a stop method right here. In this case we have a brand of string, and we also have a start method. But now in this case we are using a declaration merging, or you can also say the interface extension, or some people also call it, God forbid, reopening an interface. So yeah, this is how we are going to be using that. So you just have to specify your interface name, and then you just have to satisfy that. But this is how we are going to be doing a declaration merging. So what I want to do is that I'm going to delete all of the code, and now let's talk about a declaration merging. So I'm going to just write like original interface right here. So first of all, we are going to be creating an original interface. So interface, and I'm going to just give a name of like car, and inside this car we would have a brand, and it's going to be set to string, and I'm going to also provide a start method right here. So a start method would be set to void right here. So later in some cases, if I want to change specific property, or if I want to provide new ones to it, so then what we are going to be doing, we are going to be doing a declaration merging, or you can also say like interface extension, or whatever you want to call that. Now let me just delete that stuff from here, and I'm going to just write model, and model will be set to string, and I'm going to also specify the stop, and this is going to be the method, and I'm going to just set that to void. Now let me just create my car. So I'm going to just create like const my car, and it's going to be the car interface, and we are going to be just satisfying all of their methods, and this is how we are going to be satisfying all of their methods. So we have a brand of BMW, we have a start method, we also have a stop method, but did we forgot something else? Brand, oh, we also forgot this the model. I don't even know what a model is, but I'm gonna just write a model of, yep, this one, M3. Thank you so much, AI. So now let me just save that, and this is how we are going to be satisfying them. So now let me just go ahead and use that right here. So I'm gonna just log to the console like my car dot I don't know, start method. I'm gonna just save that and run that. So it's gonna give us start and undefined. Oh, that's because we are already console logging that. That's why we get this undefined. So now let me just remove that and save that. It's gonna only give us start right here. We can even stop our car. Let's just stop our car, baby. Stop, run that, and it's gonna stop our car. It's gonna first of all start it, and then it's gonna also stop it right here, and you can have access to the brand and also the model as well. And that was it about the deep dive into the interfaces in TypeScript. So now let's talk about one of the best feature in TypeScript, which is called generics. So what in the world are generics, and why you should care about them? So in TypeScript, generics allow you to create reusable components that work with a variety of types. Like generics makes it possible for you to define function, classes, and interfaces that can work with different data types without having to duplicate our code. And here the keyword is different data types. Now you might be thinking like, Hussein, isn't that any type? Like if we use the any type, we can provide any data type. No, generics are totally different than that. So we can also create a generic function, and we can also create a generic classes, which we are going to be also learning in this section. Now let me just give you some sort of a code without using a generic function, and then we are going to be refactoring that code to use a generic function. So here you can see we have like 3 arrow functions right here. The first one will only take a string value. Like here we have to specify string value right here, because here we are now annotating our parameter as a string. So here you can see we have to specify a string right here. If you specify like, I don't know, some sort of a number, or I don't know, if some sort of like a boolean value, so it's gonna throw us an error. And here you can see for the next function we have to specify the number. If you specify something else like string or boolean or something like that, it's gonna throw us an error. Why is that? Because here we are requiring the number right here, like we are annotating our parameter as a number. So here we have to specify number right here. And now the final one will also do the same. Like for boolean, we have to specify a boolean right here. If we specify some sort of a number or string, it's gonna throw us an error. So now the one way to solve this problem is to use one of the awful TypeScript feature, which is called any. So we have to remove this string, we also have to remove this number, and also the boolean. So here we have to just replace them with any type, and that's gonna do it for us. But that's not a best practice. We have to figure out some way so that we create some sort of a function and we provide some specific type for that function, and then we have to specify some sort of a value based on that specific type. Okay, so for that we are going to be using generics. And how we are going to be creating a generics? This is how we are going to be creating a generics. Like totally easy. But the thing is, here you can see for this function, let me just say that here you can see for this function we are specifically providing, or we are specifically annotating that to the string, to the number, and also to the boolean as well. And what are these things called? These are called a function parameter area right here. Like all of these things are called a function parameter right here. Now on the other hand, let me just show you this. This is a type parameter right here. Like anytime you want to create some sort of a generic function, here this area we can also specify type right here, or we can also just abbreviate that to T. In this case I just abbreviate that to T, but you can also write a type if you wanted to. So this area here you can see that I just highlight that this area is known as a type parameter, like which kind of type we are going to be specifying right here for this specific function. This area which you can see right here is a function parameter area right here. Also I want you to notice, like also this area is a type parameter area right here. Like for this area we have to specify some sort of a value. Like we can either provide a string, we can provide a number, we can also provide a boolean right here, and it's going to give us results based on that. Like here you can see the first one is going to give us a hello, because we are now annotating that, or we are specifying the value for this parameter area right here, the string type. So here you can see we have to specify the string value right here, and it's going to give us the result of string. Then for the number we are providing a number, and we are also getting the number right here. Then finally for the boolean we are providing a boolean, and finally we are getting the boolean value right here. Okay, so yeah, there was a lot of talking. So now let me just give you some sort of example, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to create a lot of function, and they are not going to be a generic function. So I'm going to just create a regular like TypeScript or JavaScript function right here. The first one will be for the print number right here, and it's going to take the parameter of like item or something like that, and I'm going to annotate that with a number, and I'm going to also specify a default value to it, like come on, default. And here I'm going to just specify the number right here. And I also forgot to include the return type as well. So it's going to take a number and also the number as well. So now let me just go back. And here inside this function, what do you have to do? We are going to be just returning the item and also the default value right here. Okay, so instead of writing a default, I'm going to just change that to like default value or something like that. And here you can see that error is gone. So now if I want to run this code, so what do I have to do for that? Well, I'm going to just write like, I don't know, const num, and it's going to be equals to this print number right here, and I can specify any number I want. And now let me just log to the console this number right here. What is going on? Print number, expect 2 parameter right here. So I'm going to just specify like 12 and 20 right here. Now let me just save that and run my file. So here you can see it's going to give us array of 12 and also 20 right here, which is okay. So let's suppose if I specify something else like string. Now let me just write like something, and I'm going to also specify the boolean right here like true. And now if I save that and if I run that, it's going to give us this error like argument of type string is not assignable to a parameter of type number right here. You gotta do something about that. So now let me just remove that from here. Now let me just provide 1, and I'm going to also specify 2 right here. So which means like we can only specify the number values right here. We cannot specify the string, we cannot specify the boolean or anything like that. So the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just create one for like, I don't know, for a string like, I don't know, print string or something like that. And I guess that would be it. So now let me just duplicate that and change this one to stir for a string, and also print string right here. And in this case we are not able to provide, let me just write a stir right here. And by the way, I forgot to also change these to string right here. So now let me just change that to string, and here you can see it is now giving us an error if I hover my mouse over to it. So it is also giving us that same error like argument of type number is not assignable to a parameter of type string. So yeah, we have to specify some sort of a string value right here. So I'm going to just write like I don't know, hello, and I'm going to also specify word or something like that. And now if I save my file and run that, and let's just remove that from here, and let me just rerun that once again. So here you can see it's going to give us hello and also the word right here. So now let me just also write one function for the booleans as well. So I'm going to just write like print bool or boolean rather. I'm going to change the type to boolean, and now I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, change this one to bool or something like that, and print bool right here, or boolean rather. So it's going to give us that error like argument of type string is not assignable to a parameter of type boolean. We have to specify some sort of a boolean value right here. Okay, so if I just write like true and false, and now if I save that, and let's just log that bool to the console as well. Let me just save this file and run that. So here you can see we are now getting true and also the false value right here, which means like everything is totally working a-okay. But the problem which we are currently facing is that we have to specify number for this print number right here, we have to specify string for the print string function, and we have to specify the boolean for this print boolean function right here. Like we cannot provide a number for the boolean, we cannot provide a number for a string and also boolean for a string. We cannot provide boolean or number, I mean like we cannot provide boolean or string for this print number function right here. We have to do something about that. Well, the first answer is, now let me just remove that and also these other functions as well. Now let me just remove that. I can just specify the any type right here. If I just write any, I don't even have to like annotate that with any right here. But anyways, if I just save that, now let me just log to the console this num, and I'm going to specify yeah, a number will be for the first one, and for the second one I'm going to just write like something, and it's not going to take 3 parameters. So yeah, that's that. Now let me just save that and run that. And here you can see it's going to give us 1 for a number and also something as a string right here. Now our problem is totally solved, but I want to ask you a question, like in this code, where in the world is TypeScript playing their role? Well, nowhere. Like we are not even using a TypeScript for that. We are just writing this extra code right here. We are not using TypeScript anywhere inside this code. And TypeScript is all about types, and we have to do something about that. Okay, so to do something about that, we are going to be refactoring all of that code which I just wrote right here. We are going to be refactoring all of that code to one simple function which is called generic function. And trust me, the syntax is totally simple and awesome. So now let me just create a generic function right here. So anytime you want to create a generic function, we are not going to be doing anything special, but we are going to be just creating our function just like that. Let me just highlight that for you. We are going to be first of all providing the function result keyword, then a specific name for our function, then the perimeter area, and also our curly braces right here. But now I'm going to just specify some sort of a name right here. Let me just zoom in a bit. I'm going to specify some sort of a name like unique data type, come on, types. I guess that's going to be fine, or unique data types function would be fine rather. And I'm going to also remove this params, and I'm going to just change that to like I don't know, item, and I'm going to just annotate that with something. But you know what, first of all let me just write a comma and then the default value. So I'm not going to even annotate that, and I'm not going to provide any annotation for the return value as well. So the first thing that you have to keep in mind anytime you want to create a generic function is that how many data types this function is going to take as a value. So in this case, I'm going to just specify 1 right here. Just for this specific example, we're not going to do anything crazy, not right now, but we will very soon. So I'm going to just write a less than sign. Come on, less than sign. And here we have to specify type right here, and I'm going to close that. This area is a type parameter area right here, and also this area is a function parameter area right here. So now that we make clear that you can specify any type you want right here, this is a type parameter area right here. Like, we have to specify some sort of a type for that. So type is declared, but its value is never read. Okay, so we are going to take care of that in a few seconds. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to use this type somewhere inside our function. So where we are going to be using that, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to annotate that for the item. Now let me just write item, and I'm going to just specify this type right here, and I'm going to also specify it for the default value as well, and I'm going to also specify it for the return value of this function as well. Or you know what, we're going to be returning like two values, so I'm going to just write array of type and also the type right here. Just like for this function, we are returning like two values right here, so we are now just annotating there like this. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating our generic function, and I know that's gonna look a bit weird, but trust me, this is not that much weird thing to learn in TypeScript. But yeah, let me just say that once again. First of all, we are going to be creating some sort of a JavaScript or TypeScript function. We can give it any name we want, and then we have to specify some sort of a type right here. Like, this area is known as a perimeter area. You have to specify some sort of a value for this perimeter right here, and then we are reusing that perimeter right here and also here as well, and also for this return type as well. So currently we are not even specifying, or we are not even returning something from our function, so that's why we are now getting this error right here. But now what I want to do is that I'm going to just return that item and also the default value as well. Okay, so now let me just return that. The next thing which I want to do is that, you know what, let me just save this file and it's going to format my code like that. But now we have to use this unique function right here, or unique data type function somewhere. I'm going to copy the name of that. So now let me just ask you a question. I'm going to just place that right here. So now let me just ask you a question, like, what in the world we are going to be doing right now? Well, the first thing which you have to do is that we have to specify some sort of a value for this type right here. So how we are going to be doing that? This is how we are going to be doing that. I'm going to just write a less than sign, and here we have to specify like which kind of type we are going to be providing for this specific type perimeter right here. Like, this is going to be the perimeter area, and here we have to specify some sort of an argument for this specific type right here. So in this case, you know what, I'm going to just specify like number right here. So I'm going to just write number, and I'm going to have to close that. The next thing which you have to do, like, this area is totally done. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to take care of the function parameter right here, or function takes two parameter. Like, the first parameter it takes is the item, and the second one it takes is a default value right here. So now we have to specify some sort of a value for the item and also for the default value right here. So I'm going to just write my or like parentheses like that. You know, let me just remove that for a second. So now let me just specify some sort of a value for the item and also for this default value right here. Okay, so I'm going to just specify like 10 for the item and also 20 for the default value right here. So that is totally satisfied. So now here I'm going to just write this code once again so it did not confuse you. So this is how we are going to be registering or creating our first generic function, and this is how we are going to be using that. So we can also wrap that with a console log, but you know what, let me just throw in some sort of variable like const res, and it's going to be equals to this generic function call. And now let me just log this res right here to the console. Okay, so if I save this file and now let me just run that, so it's going to give us like 10 and also the 20 right here, which is totally amazing. You can like rewatch this video if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Like, I explain every single thing about generics right here. So now the question is, here we can specify the number right here. Can we also specify the string as well? Yep, you totally can. Now let me just duplicate that, and here instead of writing a number, I'm going to just specify string right here. But here we also have to specify the string value. So I'm going to just write like I don't know, hello, and I'm going to also write word right here, and let's just change that to like stir or something like that. This one will be just a num, and I'm going to duplicate that, change this one to num and this one to stir for a string. Now let me just save my file, and now if I run there, what do you think will be the result? You already know the result, but hey, here you can see we are now getting hello, and we are also getting the word right here. So I want you to think about generic functions is like a component which you can use throughout your project. Here you can see we're using it for a number. We can also use that for a string, and we can also use it for a boolean as well. So now let me just write a boolean, and here we have to just change that to bool or something like that. I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and let me just write a bool, and instead of writing hello, let me just remove that hello from here and true, I don't know, true once again, or let me just write a false right here. Now let me just save that, and if I run my code, you already know what it will give us. It's going to give us true and false right here for the values. So if this is the first time you're watching a generic function, so it may look a little bit intimidating, but trust me, it's not. Here we have to specify some sort of a perimeter for for a type, and here we have to specify our own perimeter for a specific function. If you wanted to, you totally can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay, so now let me just remove this type. I'm gonna just hold Control and hit D, D. Instead of writing this type, you can also change that to T right here. Okay, now let me just save them, and this is how we usually write our generic function right here. And now I'm gonna give you a lot of example by using generic functions, so you're gonna have a lot of experience right now. So you know what, before we move on to next topics, I want to explain one more thing. Now let me just remove that, also remove this one as well. Let me just create some sort of an interface. So now let me just write like interface. I'm gonna give a name of like dog. Inside this dog, we're gonna have some sort of a name which will be string, and also the breed itself, and the breed will be also string right here. So instead of providing a number or a string or a boolean, we can also specify our own type or our own interface right here to a generic function. So how we are going to be doing that? So this is how we are going to be doing that. So I'm going to just write a const dog1 or something like that, and it's going to be equals to that specific function. So the first thing which you have to do is that we have to specify some sort of a value for this perimeter right here. So we are going to be specifying the type of dog. So now let me just specify that, and we can also specify our own values for this item and also for the default value as well. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just specify some sort of a value for the name. I totally can, yeah, you know what, let me just provide like some sort of a name right here, and the name will be, I don't know, Buddy or something like that. I'm not that much good with dogs, so now let me just write breed, and the breed will be this breed right here. I can't even pronounce this name. Let me also provide a comma, and I'm going to also specify the name once again, and the name will be set to default. And also let me just provide some sort of a breed, and the breed will be like unknown or something like that. Now let me just save that. The next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just log that to a console like dog1. Let's just save that and run that. So it's going to give us like a name of this name, which you can see right here, like the name of Buddy, the breed of this breed, and also we have another one like name will be set to default and breed will be set to unknown. Okay, so that's that. Now let me just clear this out, and that's that. So now the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to remove every single thing from here. And now let me just give you one more example, which will be a generic functions to get a random key value pairs from an object. So how we are going to be doing that? Well, first of all, we have to create our generic function. So let me just write get random key value pair or something like that. And I'm going to specify the type of first of all, let me just write my generic signature right here. So it's going to take 1t like type perimeter right here, and I'm going to specify some sort of object, and I'm going to annotate that as a key. Let me just provide a key, and it's going to take that key as a string. And also outside from this object, we are going to be also providing our own type right here, which we specified right here inside this perimeter area. Okay, so that's that. Or not outside from that. Now let me just cut that and put it right here. And now let me just specify for the return value. So I'm going to just write like I don't know, the object of key, which will be string, and I'm going to also specify the value, which will be set to type, or that type which we are going to be specifying in a few seconds. So that's that. Now let me just save that, and if I hover my mouse over to it, so a function whose declared types is neither undefined, void, nor any must return some values. Come on, TypeScript, give me a break. Now let me just write the code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So let me just write some sort of a return statement, so it stopped giving me that error right here. So now let me just write our logic. So I'm going to just write like const keys, and it's going to be equals to this object dot keys right here, and here we have to specify our object which we are getting as a perimeter. And also let me just get a random keys or rand key or something like that, and it's going to be equals to that keys. And here we have to use our math.floor, and let me just provide a math.random. So we want to get a random number from there. From where? From the keys dot, come on, keys dot, oh my god, not that, dot length. There we go. So that's that. Now underneath these random keys, what do you want to do? We just have to return something. So what do you want to return? We just want to return the key of random key, and I'm going to also return the value. In the value, I'm going to just return the object, and here we have to specify that random key right here. Now let me just save that, but I don't know why we are getting this error right here. Oh, instead of writing this array, we have to change that to object. So now let me just change that to object and also remove that. So yeah, Now let me just use that right here. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just create some sort of an object. Then from that object we are going to be getting some sort of a random keys right here. So now let me just do that. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just create some sort of a string object. So const string obj or object rather, and it's going to be equals to this object, and I'm going to just provide the property of a, and it's going to be equals to apple, and I'm going to also specify the b of banana, and also one for the cherry, or I don't know, whatever you want to call that. So yeah, that's that. Now let me just log to the console, or you know what, we are not even using our function. So now let me just use my generic functions to get random values from this object right here. So I'm going to just write like get random values, my function name, and the first thing which you have to do is that we have to satisfy the type. Okay, so the type I'm going to provide like a string right here, because currently we are working with a string, and then we have to specify the value which this object is taking right here. So I already created this object right here, so I'm going to copy that and put it right here. So now let me just log that to the console. So const res, and log that to the console like res, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like key of a and value of apples. So now let me just rerun that once again, and it's going to give us the key of C, and the value will be sherry or cherry, whatever you want to call that. And here you can see we have the key of B and the value of banana right here. So it's going to give us a random keys from this object right here. So this is how we are going to be testing for a string. So now let me just duplicate that and put that right here at the end. I'm going to change that to number object, and it's going to be equals to like some sort of a number. Like I'm going to change this one to 1, and this one to 2, and this one to 3 right here. I'm going to also change these A, B, and C. So I'm going to just change it to 1 and 2, and also this one to 3. And I'm going to use my function, my generic function to be precise. So first of all, I'm going to use like get random values, and in this case we have to specify the number because we are taking the number right here, and here we have to specify for the parentheses, we have to specify this object. So now let me just copy that and place that right here, and now I'm going to also log that to the console like instead of writing res, I'm going to write like random number pair, and now let me just log that random number pair, not string. Let me just copy that and put it right here, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us the key, it's going to give us the key of 2 and the value of 2 right here. Okay, so now let me just rerun that once again. So it's going to give us the key of 3 and also the value of 3. So yeah, we tested and it is working totally okay. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just create a generic function that filter array based on a condition. So yeah, we totally can provide a conditions as well. So now let me just remove this coding from here. And by the way, you can find all of the code in my GitHub repository, and link will be in the description below. So now let me just create a function. I'm going to give a name of like filter array or something like that, and I'm going to also specify the type parameter, and in this case I'm going to also have to specify this array right here, and the type will be set to type of arrays, and I'm going to also specify the condition. So condition, there we go, and the condition will be item and also their type right here, and it's going to return the boolean. Come on, boolean. If I can get that, let me just go back, and for the return value I'm going to specify the type of arrays right here. So now let me just write my code. So I'm going to just write like return array.filter or JavaScript like or regular JavaScript filter method, and I'm going to specify the item in this case, and here we have to write our condition, and for this condition we have to specify the parameter of item right here. So now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to create some sort of array so that we can iterate over through the array and we can perform some sort of a logic on that array. So I'm going to just write like const number array, and it's going to be equals to like I don't know, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I guess 10 would be fine. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just get E1 numbers from there. So I'm going to just use like const E1 numbers, and it's going to be equals to my filter array generic function right here. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just specify the number, and the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just specify the number array right here, which is this number array, and the next thing which you have to do is that we have to specify the condition function right here. So I'm going to provide a comma, and now let me just specify the condition function. So I'm going to specify the number, and I'm going to also just use like if num mod 2 is equals to 0, triple equals to 0, so it's going to give us the E1 numbers. So now let me just log that to the console like E1 numbers. Now let me just go back and save my file, and this is how it looks like. Now let me just run my code. So it's going to give us like 2 4 6 8 and 10, which are totally correct, and these are E1 numbers in mathematics, and yeah, in also TypeScript as well. Okay, so what I want to do is that the next example is using the array of strings. So let me just create an array of strings. So const string array, and it's going to be equals to like I don't know, apple, and also banana, and also some sort of a sherry or cherry, whatever you want to call that, and that or whatever. So now let me just get a short words from this array. So I'm going to use like short words, and it's going to be equals to like filter array my generic function, and I'm going to specify the string value, and for my actual parameter I'm going to specify like string array, which we are already creating. And now let me just specify the condition, and for this condition it's going to take a word, and word, come on, word dot length is less than 6, so only gives us them. So like short words, if I save my file and run that, so it's going to only give us the short array. So here you can see we have an apple and we also have a date. So yeah, that's also totally correct. And yeah, now the next thing which I want to do is that I'm gonna also create an interface right here. So now let me just create an interface. I'm gonna just write like interface, and I'm gonna also specify the fruit name to it, and the name will be set to some sort of a string, and I'm gonna also specify some sort of a color like string as well. Now let me just use const fruit, fruit fruit array, and here we have to annotate there with our fruit interface right here, and it's going to be equals to this array. And here we can specify a lot of fruits right here, like I don't know, apple, and also the color will be set to red, and they shouldn't be array, it should be an object rather. So now let me just change that to object. Let me provide my comma and just provide a little bit more, like I don't know, banana is yellow. Yep. And I'm going to also specify the sherry of red as well. I'm going to also make this one uppercase R, and also this one uppercase R as well. So now let me just use my generic function, which is filter array. Let me just use that on this array right here. So what I want to do is I'm going to just get a red fruits from the array. So it's going to be equals to filter array, and here we have to specify that fruit and close that. And the next thing which you have to do is that we also have to satisfy our perimeter area. So now let me just copy that and put our array, and I'm going to also specify our conditions. So fruit, and here what you have to do, we have to specify if fruit dot color is triple equals to red. So what do you want to do? We just wanted to log the red fruits right here. So if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us these fruits right here. The color will be red. So here you can see we have a name of apple, and the color is red, and we also have a sherry or cherry, and the color is also red. So we are now getting there inside a console. So which means like they are totally working a-okay, and we learned about generic functions a lot, but that's not it, baby. We gotta do a lot more than that. Now let me just talk to you about generic function, but which takes multiple types. Now let me just create a generic function which reverts the order of two values. So I'm gonna just create my generic function. So I'm gonna give a name of like reverse pair or something like that. And in this case we have to specify two types of perimeter right here. Okay, so two types of perimeter. You can abbreviate that to T and U, or you can abbreviate that to anything you want. And now let me just write like value 1 right here, and for the value 1 we are going to be specifying T. And now let me just also write a value of 2, and for the value 2 we can specify the U right here. So now let me just return the U and T, and we are going to be just reversing the order of that. Like we're not going to be doing anything crazy, but we just have to write like value 2 and value 1 right here, and there we go. So now let me just create some sort of example like reversed, let's just change that to const reversed pair, and it's going to be equals to the reverse pair right here. And inside there we have to specify like hello and also 20 or something like that. And now let me just log to the console this reversed. I'm going to copy that and place it right here, save my file. Now let me just run that. So it's going to give us like 20 and hello right here. Here we are specifying hello and 20, so it's going to give us like 20 and hello. I don't know why, but it is now giving us some sort of an error. So now let me just clear out the terminal once again and rerun that. So in this case it's going to give us like 20 and hello, which is totally amazing. So here you can see this is how we are going to be specifying multiple types of perimeter right here. So the final thing which you have to learn about generics is a generic classes. So we are not going to be doing anything crazy, but we are going to be just creating a class, and I'm going to just give a name of like box, and here we have to specify the dynamic, or not a dynamic, but the perimeter for a type right here. So I'm going to specify the property of private and content right here. It's going to also take their perimeter right here. And for the constructor, what do you have to do? I'm going to remove this perimeter, and I'm going to just set that to initial content right here, and initial content will be also set to this type. And I'm gonna just say like this dot content is now equals to this initial content right here. Underneath there we're going to be defining two methods, so get content, and get content is not going to take any parameter. So inside there, what do you want to do? We just want to return like this dot content just to get the content right here, and we can also set the content. So set content, and I'm going to just specify like new content, and that new content will tag that parameter, and I'm not going to return anything from there, so I'm going to just specify the void to it. Now let me just go back, and here we have to just write like this dot content is now equals to the new content right here. Now let me just save there and execute there. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just create an instance of that. So I'm going to use like new box, and here we have to specify some sort of a value for the parameter or type parameter. So I'm going to just use like string, and I'm going to just provide an actual value for that function, so or not function but class, like hello TypeScript. And now let me just store then some sort of variable like string box or something like that. And now let me just log to the console like string box, which we have right here, and we are going to be just getting or executing this method right here like get content. And now let me just execute that, go back. This is how the code looks like, and now if I run there, so it's going to give us wow, it's not giving us an error. Oh, it should not be equals to, we have to annotate that. Come on. Let me just save there and rerun that once again. So it's going to give us hello TypeScript right here, but we can do crazier stuff than that. So I can also set the content, so I'm going to just write like I don't know, string box dot set content, and I can specify any content I want, like new content added or something like that. And you know, I'm gonna just put this one right here, duplicate that, and put it also at the end as well. So now let me just save that and run that once again. So it's gonna give us like hello TypeScript and new content added right here. Okay, so which is totally okay. So now let me just also run this specific class for the numbers as well. So I'm gonna just remove that from here, and let me just zoom in. I'm going to create a number box, and it's going to be equals to like new box, and for the parameter I'm going to specify number and also 20 or something like that. And underneath that we're going to be also using like, you know, let me just log the value to the console like number box dot get content and execute that. If I save that and run that, so it's going to give us like 20, totally working. Now let me just use that for setting the value number box. Come on, if I can just, oh my god, number box, there we go, dot set content is now going to take like 100 right here, and I'm going to also log that to the console. So now let me just copy that and place that right here, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like 20 and also the 100 right here. So yeah, that was it about generics in TypeScript, and I hope you love them. Okay, so yeah, next we are going to be learning about a type narrowing in TypeScript. So now let's learn about a type narrowing in TypeScript. So type narrowing is the process of refining a variable's type within a conditional block of code, and this allows you to write more precise and type safe code. So how in the world we are going to be achieving a type narrowing? There are a lot of ways to achieve the type narrowing, but in this specific section we are going to be just learning about a type guards, the instance of, and also the insertion types. Okay, so now let's just start from the first one, which is a type guards. So type guard are mechanisms that help TypeScript understand and narrow down the types more precisely, and one common type guard is the type of operator right here. So how the code's gonna look like, this is how the code's gonna look like. So you can take a screenshot of that, or you can just pause the video and write the code by yourself. But now I'm gonna go ahead and write the code, and then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm gonna just define a union type like my type, and it's gonna be equals to a string or a number right here. So now underneath there we're going to be also creating a function. I'm going to give a name of like example, or function rather. It's going to take a value, and the value type will be my type right here. And for the return statement, what do you have to do? I'm going to just specify the void, because we are not going to be returning any value from there, so that's why we specify void right here. So now let me just use my first type guard, which is called the type of right here. If the type of the value is triple equals to string, so what do you want to do? We just want to log to the console value.to uppercase right here, and now let me just execute that. So if I save my file, so what are we currently doing right here? So if I hover my mouse over to the value, so what are we getting? We are now getting the value is now currently set to string. So what's going on? If I just put that right here at the top, and now let me just save there, and here you can see very quickly it's going to give us this error right here. If I hover my mouse over to it, so it's going to give us this error like property.to uppercase does not exist on a type, my type right here. But if I put that right here inside this if statement, we are now telling the TypeScript compiler if the type of value is set to string, then run this code. If that's not set to string, so what do you want to do? We just want to log to the console like value.toFixed right here. It is going to be some sort of a number, like we are just telling that to the compiler. So within this block of code, TypeScript knows that the value will be string. And outside from their first block, now outside from this block of code, inside the else block, this TypeScript compiler will already know that the value will be some sort of a number. So if I hover my mouse over to that, so here you can see we are now getting the number right. So this is how we are going to be narrowing the types right here. So now let me just use that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to just call my function with the string of hello. So it's going to give us like uppercase hello right here. So if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us uppercase hello right here, which is totally cool. Now let me just duplicate that, or you know what, let me just write an example function once again, and if I just write like 20, so it's going to give us 20 right here. So if I save that, or not 20 but 20.00, because we use this method of toFix right here and we specified 2, so that's why we are now getting this .00 right here. So that was the first way of type narrowing. Now let's learn about a type narrowing with the instance of operator right here. So the instance of operator is another type guard that allow you to check whether an object is an instance of a particular class or a constructor function. So this is how the code's gonna look like, and I know that's a lot of code. So here you can see we have first of all like 2 classes right here, and then we are creating some sort of a function, and for the type of perimeter we are passing either the dog or the cat class, and we're not returning something, so that's why we put void right here. So you know what, let me just write this code and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove that, and I'm gonna just define a class. I'm gonna give a name of like dog, and now I'm not going to even bother providing a constructor function. I'm going to just use like a bark method right here. We are not going to be returning something from there, so I'm going to just write a void, and inside this function we are going to be just using like woof or something like that. I'm going to duplicate this class right here. Now let me just create one for the cat as well, and for the cat we would have meow like that, or I guess this is how you spell it, meow or something like that. And here I'm going to also just write like meow something like that. So you know what, let me just save my file, and this is how we are going to be creating 2 classes. And now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to create a function, and inside that function we're going to be using the type narrowing by using the instance of operator right here. So I'm going to give a name of like animal sound, and it's going to take the perimeter of animal, and I'm going to also provide the type of, you know what, not animal sound, animal, I guess animal would be fine. And for the type I'm going to specify either the dog class or the cat class, which we are creating right here up above. So we have this dog class and we also have this cat class right here. So we are not going to be returning something from there, so I'm going to just specify the void right here. And now let me just check if the animal is the type or not type but the instance of dog. So what do you want to do in that case? We just want to write an animal dot bark right here, and I'm going to execute that. And now here you can see if I hold my mouse over to there, the animal is annotated with the dog right here, not a cat but with a dog, because here you can see we're using the type narrowing. We are narrowing down our type right here, so that's why inside this block of code the animal type should be a dog right here. So now for the else class, what do you want to do? Let me just write that, and I'm going to just write animal dot meow, and now let me just execute that right here. So if I hold my mouse over to this one, so here you can see for this one we have an animal of cat. If I hold my mouse over to this first one, it's going to give us the animal of dog right here. So yeah, that's that. Now let me just use that right here. So I'm going to just create 2 instances. So I'm going to write like my dog, and it's going to be equals to like new dog, and execute that. And I'm going to also create my cat, and it's going to be equals to the cat right here. And we are not going to be providing anything because we did not require anything. So now let me just use my animal sound, and I'm going to specify my dog. Or you know what, let me just log to the console my dog so that you can see. You already know all of that stuff, but now let me just log to the console there, save my file and run there. So here you can see it's going to give us the dog and also the cat classes right here. Okay, so that's cool. Now we have to provide this dog and also this cat to this animal sound right here. So I'm going to just specify my dog, and it's going to give us for the output of woof or woof woof, I guess. Because currently we are providing this woof woof, so it's going to give us that result. And if I just write like animal sound once again, and if I just write like my cat, and it's going to give us meow or something like that. And now let me just save my file, and if I just run that, it's going to give us woof woof for the first one, and it's going to give us meow for this cat right here. So yeah, this is how we are going to be narrowing down our types by using a TypeScript type of operator right here. So now let's learn about a type narrowing by using the intersection types in TypeScript. So you already know, like I already discussed what intersections is, but if you don't know that, let me just read that for you. So intersection types in TypeScript allow you to combine multiple types into a single type, and the resulting type will have all the properties of each individual type, and you can create an intersection types using the AND operator right here. And this is how the code is gonna look like. So here you can see we have two types of, like, the first one we have an employee, the second one we have a manager, and we are now just using this intersection operator right here, or intersection type, whatever you want to call that, and it will now combine both of these values or these types to this one right here, and we can use that anywhere we want. So now let me just write a code for that, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just delete all of that code, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to first of all define two types right here, like employee or something like that, and inside there I'm going to specify the ID of number to it, and also the name will be some sort of a string, and that's that. Now I already forgot to include the equal to sign, and here I have to just write a manager, and the manager is going to be equals to the department, department, and for the department I'm going to specify the string, and for the role I'm going to specify the string as well. Okay, so these are our two types. Now let me just create or not create, but now let me just use my intersection type right here. So I'm going to just write like type of manager, M-A-N-A-G on manager, manager with employee info or something like that will be now equals to the employee and the manager right here. So now I am going to use that right here. So I'm going to just write like manager, come on, lowercase const, and manager, and now let me just annotate that with this manager with employee information is going to be equals to this object right here. So first of all, I'm going to specify values to the ID, then I'm going to specify the value to the name and also to the department and role right here, because currently we are combining both of them to this one right here, and we are now providing that right here for this object. So I have to write all of that value. So ID will be now set to like 1 2 3 or something like that, and I am going to also specify some sort of a name like Alex Merson or something like that. And I'm going to also provide a department, and the department will be engineering, and also the role will be some sort of like team lead or something like that. And finally, now let me just log there to the console. I'm going to go back, and now let me just log to the console like manager.id. If I just write ID, and now let me just execute that, so it's going to give us like 1 2 3 right here. And now let me just duplicate that a few times, and I'm going to just get like name, and I'm going to also get the department and also for the role as well. So if I save my file and run there, it's going to give us 1 2 3 4 ID, Alex Merson as a name, and engineering as a department, and role will be team lead right here. Okay, so that was it about our type narrowing in TypeScript. So now let me just make a genuine setup for writing a TypeScript code, because currently we've been using this extension called this code runner right here, and trust me, we love this extension. But the thing is that in real world project, we are not going to be using the code runner. We have to compile our TypeScript code to the JavaScript, because our compiler don't have any idea like what the hell is a type, what the hell is all of that insertion operator, all of the thing that we learned about TypeScript. The compiler don't have any idea for that. So we use JavaScript for the front end and also for the back end, and we don't use the TypeScript code for the front end for the back end. We have to compile our TypeScript code into the JavaScript code. So how we are going to be doing that? Okay, so to do that, I mean, like to compile our code into a JavaScript code, we don't have to do nothing, but we just have to write a TSC, which we already installed in the beginning of the course, and we are going to be just writing a dash and init. And if I hit enter, and what are we getting? We are now getting this tsconfig file right here, and there are a lot of stuff inside this tsconfig file. Now let me just close my terminal right here, and I'm going to open my tsconfig file, and here you can see we have like crazy amount of stuff right here. You can learn more about this tsconfig file by your own, but I'm gonna just explain a few things right here. So now let me just go ahead and go to this tsconfig right here. If I hit enter, it's gonna bring us to this tsconfig right here. I'm gonna have to go to the top, and this is how it's gonna look like right here. So you can learn about a compiler option, type checking modules, embed JavaScript support, and all of that kind of stuff. But what we are currently interested in is that how in the world we are going to be compiling our code. Well, we don't have to do nothing. Let me just zoom in a bit. We don't have to do nothing, but we just have to open our terminal right here, and we also already have our tsconfig file right here. So everything is already set up, so we just have to use like tsc, and then we have to include the specific path of the file which you want to compile. So I'm going to just write a ind, and if I hit tab and if I hit enter right here, it's going to give us that JavaScript file right here. So here you can see it is now giving us this index.js file right here. But we would have some sort of a problem. If I open this JavaScript file right here, we are getting all of that same code right here. Not the same code, but we are now getting totally a JavaScript code right here. But the thing is that we are using the var result keyword, and this is not the newer way of writing a JavaScript code. Oh, you know what? Let me just give you some sort of example. Like I'm going to go ahead and go to my TypeScript code right here. I'm going to remove every single thing which I currently have right here, and I'm going to just create some sort of arrow function like const add, and it's going to be equals to like I don't know, x, and the x will be set to number, and I'm going to also specify the y, and the y will be also a number. And now let me just annotate that to a number as well, and I'm going to also specify the x plus y right here as the return value. And now let me just go back, and here you can see this is the newer way of writing a JavaScript code. Like here you can see we are using the arrow function and all of that. So now if you want to compile that, now let me just compile that right here. If I just use this tsc right here, let me just clear that, and if I just use like tsc and then this index.js, or not js, in this case we have to write this ts right here. If I hit enter, so now it's going to replace all of their previous code to this code right here. So now let me just show you that if I save my file, so here you can see it is now using the function expression, but this is the older way of creating a function. Like here you can see we are using the var result keyword, and we are using the function result keyword, and we are also returning there right here. But in the TypeScript right here, we use this arrow function, and we are not getting the arrow functions right here. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? So well, for that we have to go ahead and go to our configuration file, and I'm gonna just scroll down, and what are we getting? We are now getting this target right here, and the target is now currently set to the ES 2016 or ES 16, whatever you want to call that. So I'm gonna just click on this hash right here, and I'm going to specify the target. And if I hit, so here you can see it's going to bring us to this target documentation right here. You can learn more about that if you wanted to, but basically what this target means is that in which kind of version of JavaScript we have to compile this TypeScript code into. Okay, so currently it is by default set to this ES 2016. I'm going to just remove that, and I'm going to just hold control and hit space. So it's going to give us 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19 till this 2023, and also we have the ES next right here. But currently I want to just compile my code to the ES6 way. So I'm going to just click on this ES6 right here, and if I save my file, nothing will happen. So yeah, I want you to keep that in mind. Nothing will happen. If I just delete this file, and now instead of writing like tsc and index and all of that, we just have to write this tsc. That's it, baby. We just have to write this tsc, and if I hit enter right here, you can see it's going to give us that compiled file. And now hopefully if I open that, it's going to give us that arrow function right here, which means like we are now using the newer way of writing a TypeScript, I mean like JavaScript code right here. So that's totally amazing. So that was it about for the target, and now let's learn about compilation. So here you can see it's going to compile all of the file right here. Let's suppose if I have a lot of files. So now let me just delete that. I'm going to just delete that right here, just like that, and I'm going to just create a few other function right here. Now let me just duplicate that, and I'm going to give a name of like multiply or something like that. And instead of writing this plus symbol, I'm going to just change that to like time symbol right here. We don't have to worry about the code right now. I'm going to cut this code from here, and I'm going to just create a file, give a name of like something. Now let me just make that a bit bigger. I'm going to create a file, give a name of like mult.ts for multiplication.typescript. Okay, so for real world project we are going to have a lot of TypeScript files. So in this case we just have like mult.ts right here. I'm going to just put my code inside this mult.ts right here, And also I'm gonna just create a folder, give a name of like src, or you know what, I don't have to create a folder, not right now. Now let me just show you that. So here you can see we have this mult.ts file right here. I'm gonna also cut this code from here, and now let me just create one more file, give a name of like add.ts for adding two numbers. So I'm gonna just place this code right here. Now let me just go back so you guys can see everything a bit better. So here you can see we have three files. The first one we have is this add.ts file, then we have a multiplication.ts file, and I'm going to also just write like subtract right here inside this index file. So I'm going to just write subtract or something like that, and I'm going to just put my minus right here. So if I save that, so currently we have three files right here. The first one we have is add, which is responsible for adding two numbers. Then we have a index, which is responsible for subtracting two numbers, and then we have a mult for multiplication. Okay, so if I just write tsc right here, in this case if I just write tsc and if I hit enter, and here you can see it's going to compile all of the code, right, all of the file which we currently have inside our directory. So if I open this mult, it's going to provide that same code right here. It's going to compile that. And if I open this one, same will go for the add and all of that. But in some situation, we don't want to compile all of the file. We just only want to compile a certain file, like a certain TypeScript file. So now let me just delete this compilation file. And now I'm going to go ahead and search for the files right here. So I guess that was a files. I'm gonna hit enter right here. So it's gonna bring us to this documentation right here. So files specify the allowest of the file to include in the program. An error will occur if you don't have that file already created right here. So how the syntax gonna look like? This is how the syntax gonna look like, but I want you to keep in mind something. It will be underneath this compiler option, not inside there. Like for this compiler option we have a lot of things. Now let me just show you that. If I go to the tsconfig file, I'm gonna go to the top first of all. So here you can see we have only one object right here inside this JSON, so which is currently set to this compiler options. If I go to the bottom, we don't have anything, we just only have that. So if you want to provide that files, I'm gonna just provide a comma there, and now let me just even copy that right here. I'm going to copy that and place that right here, and I'm going to just remove almost every single thing right here, but I want to just leave like, I don't know, maybe index. So I'm going to just write index.ts right here. I'm going to save my file right now. Okay, so if I just save my file right now, and if I run there once again like that tsc once again, and if I hit enter in this case, it's going to only compile this index.ts right here. So here you can see it's going to only compile that, and it's going to ignore the rest of the file right here. So yeah, that was the first way of compiling something or ignoring something by using these files. Now let me just show you the include and also the exclude as well. So I'm going to comment this line out, and now let me just search for include. So include, like which kind of file you want to include to be compiled. Okay, so you can learn more about that. So this is how the directory will look like all of these files which you can see right here, they will not be compiled and the rest of them will be compiled. So you know what, I'm going to just cut that from here, and I'm going to just create a folder, give a name of like src, and I'm going to also create one more for the dist, because in the dist folder we are going to be providing our compilation file, like the compiled code. So we are going to take care of that a bit later, but I'm going to just cut out all of that files and I'm going to just put it inside this src directory right here. And now inside this tsconfig file, what do I have to do? I'm going to just specify this include right here. Okay, so now let me just copy that, and I'm going to just write a double quotes and provide that include, and here we have to specify the array, but I'm gonna also have to specify that comma right here to get rid of that error right here. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy that, and now let me just place that right here. So what this syntax means is that every single thing which are currently available inside the src folder, I want you to compile all of them, like leave none of them, compile all of them. So if I just save that, and now if I just write a tsc command one more time, so if I just write tsc and if I hit enter, so it's going to compile all of that file right here. So here you can see it's going to compile all of these files, and I don't want that. Like in some situation we would want to compile all of that files, but a lot of times we don't want to compile all of the files. So how in the world we are going to be omitting that? I'm going to open there once again. So now let me just show you the documentation as well. You can even also specify a single file if you wanted to. Like let's suppose if you want to just compile this index.ts right here, I'm going to just write index.ts right here, and if I save that, and now let me just run my tsc one more time, and if I hit enter, so it's going to only gives us that index.js right here, like it will only compile this index.ts, but we don't want that. We can also use the exclude right here. So I'm going to just write like exclude, exclude, and it's gonna brings us to this documentation right here. I'm gonna copy that, and underneath this one I'm going to specify this exclude right here, and I'm going to just write the array, and inside this array we are going to be specifying all of the files which you want to ignore for the compilation. So I'm going to just write a src folder, because inside this src folder we are going to be compiling or ignoring the file. So now let's suppose if I want to just ignore this multiplication file, but I want to compile the rest of them. So we are going to be just writing like mult, or I guess that was mult.ts. Yep, I'm going to just provide this mult.ts, and inside there, let me just copy that once again. I'm gonna just copy like every single thing right here. Like I want to compile every single thing, so I'm going to just pass this syntax right here. Like I want you to compile every single thing, but I want you to just remove this mult dot, or I want you to just ignore this mult.ts file. Okay, so now let me just compile that, and if I hit enter, so here you can see it's gonna compile all of the file, but it will not compile this mult.ts file right here. So here you can see we have this index, and we also have this add.js right here, which is totally a-okay. So now I'm gonna just delete this add and also this index compilation file, and now let's learn about the outer right here. Outer, I'm gonna hit enter right here, so you can learn more about this outer, like what it will do for you. But now let me just show you in action. So for this outer, we are going to be specifying where we wanted to put our compiled code. So now if I just use like tsc one more time, it's going to compile all of the code right here inside this src folder, but we don't want that. I'm going to just delete these files right here. I want all of the compiled code to be inside this dist folder right here. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? I'm going to just open my tsconfig right here, and I'm going to just search for the outer right here, the out directory. Okay, so I'm going to just uncomment that, and first of all I'm going to just I'm going to hold control and hit space, and you know what, I'm going to just provide a dist right here in this case. So if I just save that, in this case we want to compile all of our code into this dist folder. So here you can see we provide a path of this dist right here. Okay, so now let me just close that, and finger crossed, and if I just run that, so here you can see it's going to compile all of our code into this dist folder right here. So we can also just remove this one right here. I'm going to just remove this exclude. I'm going to comment this line out, and now let me just delete all of that files once again, and now let me just rerun that tsc one time. So if I run that, so it's going to compile all of the code into this ds folder or dist folder right here. So that was it about the genuine setup of TypeScript. So we are going to be writing our TypeScript code by using this extension, which is the TS extension, but we have to compile our code into a JavaScript code so that we can work with the real world JavaScript right here. Okay, so that was it about the TypeScript genuine setup, or whatever you want to call that. So that was it about compilation and all of that. Now let's learn about our declaration files. I'm gonna just copy that and put it right here, and I'm going to go ahead and go to this typescript.org right here, and I'm going to just click on this docs right here. Then I'm going to just scroll down to this declaration file. So I'm going to just click on that, and I'm not going to read you through all of the documentation, but trust me, declaration files are totally simple and amazing and straightforward. So what in the world are declaration files and why you should care about them? Well, you don't have to worry about any of the declaration file, but these are the files which can be end with this extension right here, .d.ts extension. So you know what, instead of wasting your time, I'm gonna just go ahead and remove this dist folder right here, and I'm gonna also remove all of that folder. I'm gonna also remove this folder right here as well, and I'm gonna just create like index.ts file right here, and I'm gonna log to the console like console, or not console, or I'm gonna just log to the console like, I don't know, document would be fine. So now let's just work with a little bit of document object model. We're not going to be working with the document object model because TypeScript know every single thing about that, and we don't have to worry about the document object model types as well. So if I hover my mouse over to this, so the TypeScript compiler already know which type of data this document will be holding. So here you can see it is now currently set to document right here. So if you're using a VS Code, so I want you to just hold control and click on that. So it's gonna brings us to these declaration files right here. So now let me just take a screenshot of that. So here you can see it's gonna brings us to this lib.dom.d.ts file right here. So we are not going to be providing any other stuff inside this declaration files, but inside this declaration files we are going to be only specifying the types. Okay, so just the types, nothing else. So here you can see we have an event object, so it's going to be either the event or undefined, and you can learn more about that. So if I just search for, like, I don't know, document, not a document, but get element by ID or something like that. So if I just click on that, so here you can see we have that get element by ID method right here, and the type of that will be set to this HTML element right here. So if I hold control and click on that, so here you can see it's gonna only include the types right here. So inside this declaration file, you are not gonna find any real code, but you will just found what do we call it, the declaration or the types right here. Okay, so that was it about the declaration file, and this is how the TypeScript compiler knows every single thing about the DOM and all of that kind of stuff, like third-party libraries. But now let me just show you, or before I show you that, first of all, let me just install one library right here. And if you already know Axios, totally cool. If you don't know Axios, you don't have to worry about Axios, because we're not going to be writing a lot of Axios code. I'm going to just write a little bit of Axios code, and you don't even have to worry about that. So Axios is the library which already comes with the declaration file. So what I want to do is that I already make a setup for that. I am going to just remove that stuff from here, which I specified right here. I want to compile all of the files right here, so I'm going to just remove that. And yep, I guess the rest of them will be totally the same. I'm going to just remove that. And now what I want to do is that I'm going to just use like npm init dash dash, or not dash dash, but dash y right here. I'm going to hit enter right here. So it's going to just use us this package.json file. It is nothing but it will just keep track of all of the dependencies which we are going to be installing for this project. So currently we just only want to install the Axios. If you already know Axios, cool. If you don't know Axios, you don't have to worry about that. But now let me just use like npm I and Axios, and if I hit enter, so it's going to install this Axios library inside my machine. And yep, that's totally installed. The next thing which I want to do is that I have to use that Axios right here somewhere. So I already created this index.ts file right here, and the next thing which I want to do is that if I just write like import Axios from Axios right here, and if I save that, and if I hold control and click on this Axios right here, so it already comes with the types right here, like the declaration files. And here you can see we have a lot of types right here. Like, we don't have any actual code, but we have a lot of types right here. Yeah, Axios already comes with the types. Like, not even Axios, like, there are a lot of libraries and frameworks which already comes with the TypeScript types right here. So now let me just show you where you can find that. I guess that was not quite sure about that, but TypeScript types GitHub or something like that. I'm gonna just search for that, and there we go. This one, definitely type right here. So if I open that, if I go ahead and go to this definitely type, I'm gonna go to that. And yeah, this repo is super popular right here, and you can even contribute to that by yourself if you have some sort of a library or framework and that needs types, so you can also provide this. So now let me just open these types right here, and here it's gonna give us an error. Let's just wait for that. Here you can see it's gonna give us this error. It's gonna, or not even an error, it's, I guess, a warning. Sorry, we have to truncate this directory because it includes over 1000 files. I mean, like, it can only show you the 1000 files, but yeah, it will just fail to load all of their files. So here you can see we have a lot of types for every single thing right here, but there are still a lot of projects. Like for instance, you can think about not Axios, but you can think about Express.js. Express.js does not come with the built-in types. So yeah, now let me just write a Lodash. I guess the Lodash does not include their types. So now let me just write Lodash, come on, Lodash, and this repository is supremely awful because it is totally big. I'm gonna just click on this Lodash, and yeah, it is loading a lot. Anyway, so here you can see we don't have anything else, but we have like all of their files right here, which ends with this .d and .ts right here. So we have all of their files for all of the things. So if I just open this head right here, and here you can see we have just simple one file right here. You know what, that's other story, you don't have to worry about that. But anyways, you already learned about what a type declaration are and how it works. So you know what, let me just use this Axios right here. I'm gonna just create a function, fetch data, and it's going to be equals to this asynchronous function. And I already assume that you guys already know all of that stuff, so I'm going to use the try and catch. For a try block, what do you want? Or, you know, first of all, now let me just take care of the else block. So I'm going to use like console, you know what, console.error, and I'm going to just write some sort of error right here. And for this one, we are going to be just writing an error dot message, message. There we go. And we are getting this awesome error message right here, which we are going to be taking care of in a few seconds. So yeah, so the next thing which I want to do is that I have to fetch some sort of a data. So I'm going to just write like JSON, come on, JSON placeholder big database right here, and I have to fetch some sort of a data from there. I'm going to just copy this to do right here, and I'm going to just write like const response, and it's going to be equals to this xuse response right here. Come on, x here. Oh, we have to first of all import there right here. Okay, so I'm going to just provide a comma, and I'm going to just import like xuse response right here. If I can get that right here, and now we have to use that. So I'm going to just write like xuse response. What the hell is going on? Now let me just copy them, place it right here. And here we have to annotate that with the to do, like which kind of data which we are going to be getting from this specific API right here. Now let me just copy them, place that right here. So we are now getting this data, like the user ID is going to be equals to, oh come on, like the user ID is going to be equals to 1, the ID will be set to 1, the title will be set to some string, and also the complicator will be set to some sort of a boolean value right here. So we can also create our to do right here. Now let me just create an interface. I'm going to give a name of like interface to do, and inside there we can specify a type for the user ID title complicated right here. So I'm going to just write like a user ID, and it's going to be equals to a number. I'm going to also provide the ID will be also set to a number, and also we would have some sort of a title which will be set to string, and also we would have a completed, not complicated. Did I say complicated? It's completed. Okay, so yeah, we already import that and we are using that right here, but I forgot to use the await and xuse, and then we have to specify the link where we want to get that data. So I'm going to just write like dot get, and we are going to be getting our data from this URL right here. I'm going to copy that, and now let me just place that right here. I have to write the inside of quotes. Let's just go back, and why in the world we are getting this response? And if I hold my mouse over to that, so cannot extend the interface x. Oh come on, I'm using the equal to sign right here. I have to annotate that with this to do, and also this xuse response right here. And now let me just save that. RESPONSE, not ISE. Okay, so underneath that we're going to be just logging into the console like some sort of a to do, and I'm going to specify this response. What the hell am I doing right now? So response.data, there we go. Okay, so yeah, for the error is going to be any error right here. Like yeah, we don't know which kind of error it's gonna throw us, so we can specify any error. Well, you know what, let me just handle that properly. So I'm gonna cut that from here, and here what I want to do is that I'm gonna just search for like if xuse dot is xuse error, and here we have to specify that error right here. So if that's the case, so I'm gonna just write like console dot error. Now let me just write console dot error, and I'm gonna just say like xuse error. And also let me put error dot message right here, which kind of message we are going to be getting from that error. And underneath that, what do we have to do? We have to just search for that error response. If we have the error response, so what do you want to do? We just want to log to the console the status. So status, and I'm going to just write like error response dot status right here. I'm going to duplicate that and change this status to data right here, and we are going to be getting the data from that response. And also let me just save that. For this else clause, what do I have to do? I'm going to just write like console dot error, and here we just have to write that error, come on, error dot message right here. Now let me just save that, and now let me just execute this method right here. I'm going to just execute that right here. I'm going to save my file, and I'm going to just run my code right here. So it's going to give us all of that data right here. It's going to take a bit of time. So here you can see we have to do, and to do is equals to this object right here. So we are now getting the user ID, also the ID, and also the title, and completed is now set to false right here. So which means like everything is okay, and this is how we are going to be using a TypeScript with xuse library. Do you have to know that? You don't have to know that, but yeah, that was a TypeScript with xuse. So now finally I'm gonna just show you some sort of a library which does not automatically comes with a TypeScript types. So for that we're gonna have to install a separate type. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just install the express.js right here. So I'm gonna just use like npm, come on, npm I and express, and we are not going to be writing a lot of Express code, but I'm going to just make a general setup of Express.js. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of time to install this Express.js into my machine, and I'm going to just leave it to do its thing, and there we go. It is now successfully installed. I'm going to go ahead and go to my package.json right here, and now let me just write some sort of a script for myself. You don't even have to worry about what Express.js is. If you do care about that, so I have a complete course on that if you want to check it out, but if you don't care about that, so you don't have to. Let me just write a start. Come on, start, and I'm going to just write like ts-node src directory, and I'm going to just run my index, index.ts right here. Now I'm going to just create src folder right here, and I'm going to just put my index.js right there, and there we go. So yeah, I'm gonna open my index.ts file right here. Now let me just remove that, and inside there, what do I have to do? If I just write like import express from express right here, so if I hold my mouse over to there, so express is declared but its value is never read. We can take care of that in a few seconds, but could not find a declaration file or a module Express.js right here. So we successfully install Express.js, but we also have to install the declaration files for that. So if I hover my mouse over to that, and here you will see that quick fix right here. I'm gonna just click on that. So here you can see either install the types or just remove that. Okay, so here you can see if you want to install them manually by using a terminal, so you are gonna have to write this command, which is first of all write npm I, and then you have to use like add types and then / express.js right here. But if you're using a VS Code, so you just have to hover your mouse over to that, click on the quick fix, and then click on this install right here. So it's going to automatically install it into your machine. So yeah, I'm going to have to wait for that to install all of their types. So here you can see that error is successfully gone, and I'm going to just write like const app, and it's going to be equals to like express.js. Come on, express express, yep. And now I have to just write express e, and also e here as well. Now let me just create some sort of a port, and it's going to be equals to like, oh my god, 3000 right here. And now let me just use like app.listen, and we want to listen to the port. And also now let me just execute console.log, and come on, server running on port. And now let me just render my port right here. Let's just go back, and I'm going to use my backticks right here like that, and that's it. I'm going to also create one route right here, so I'm going to use like app.get. It's going to go to the home, and let's just provide or request and also the response as well. And here what do you have to do? You just have to write response. There we go, response.send. You can also abbreviate that to the rec and res, but request and response would be good. So I'm going to just write hello TypeScript Express.js or something like that. And now if I hold my mouse over to this response right here, so response is response, any response. And yeah, this is our generic function right here, but we can also import the responses manually. So I'm going to just have to write a comma, and I'm going to just get the request and also the response as well. Okay, so if I get them, we can also provide types for that. So I'm going to just copy that and annotate that as a request, and I can also copy this response and annotate that with this response right here. Okay, so now let me just save that, and I'm going to just use my terminal, and I'm gonna just say like npm start to start my server, and I guess that would be it. Okay, so here you can see everything is starting a-okay, but it's gonna take a bit of time. So server is running on port 3000, so I'm gonna just write like a local host of 3000, and if I hit that, so here you can see we are now getting like hello TypeScript with Express.js. Okay, so in your case, it's gonna look something like this. So yeah, that was the end of this course, and there are still like 2 sections left. If you want me to make a course on that, like TypeScript with React.js and also TypeScript with Next.js, I can totally make a courses on them. But this course was just for those people who wants to learn TypeScript and want to use it in their projects. So that was all of the things I know about TypeScript, and I use that daily. So that was the end of this course, and I only have one request from you guys. Let me just say that if you guys want to support me, so I'm gonna give you a link in the description below, and it will bring you to my GitHub repository, and you can just start that repo, and you can provide you can fork that repo, and you can do whatever you want to do with that repo. So what I'm asking you from you guys is that please follow me on GitHub. And if you want to support to this channel, so feel free to subscribe. So if you don't want to support, so yeah, thanks for watching anyways, and maybe I'm gonna see you in the next course. Bye bye from now, and love you all.